Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 38 of FTB Interactions. This episode's a slightly different from our usual episodes. I'm streaming the process of recording this episode, so if you are watching this on YouTube now, you can check out the YouTube archives and there will be a stream archive of this being recorded. Of course, it'll be the same content, except you can see all the stuff I cut out, all the mistakes or whatever I don't show on camera, all the steps I skip. Anyways, diving in. Today, I want to put this Mark II nuclear fusion reactor to use. So when I built this reactor, I was initially planning on producing Neutronium with it, specifically Tech Neutronium. I've since discovered that the Tech Neutronium isn't actually very useful. You need it for a few things. Let's see. You need Neutronium plates for some UV machines. It's here somewhere, trust me. Yeah, so like some UV machines use Neutronium. However, the actual useful Neutronium is the Avariccia one, and you don't actually turn Tech Neutronium into Avariccia Neutronium. There's an entirely different process of making Avariccia Neutronium, of dropping ender chickens into antimatter. So, yeah, we don't have to make a lot of Neutronium is my point. But we do need at least a couple ingots. So let's start by making Neutronium with this reactor. Afterwards, though, I'll repurpose it for Draconium, something we need a lot more of. Making Neutronium, then, requires a couple fluids. Let's see. So you need fluid Neutronium. Now, once you make one piece of Neutronium, you can turn, as I mentioned before, you can turn it into the dust, and you can replicate the dust, right, with just neutral matter. So really, we just need to make one Neutronium ingot. So it's Nequadria, which we have for fuel, and Americium. This requires another fusion reactor, which is Lutetium and Chrome, and I believe this requires yet another fusion reactor, which is Silicon and Lanthanium. And let's check. Let me check if I have Lanthanium. Lanthanum. I don't know where I got the I from. I figured it out. Centrifuging rare earths has a small chance, medium chance, whatever, to get lanthanum dust, a small pile of it. And once I believe I only need one dust piece. I can turn one dust piece into, right, it's 1-to-1, yeah. So let's centrifuge some rare earths really quickly. I made and melted down one ingot each of lanthanium, screw the pronunciation, whatever, and silicon. So that'll make us one ingot of lutetium. Now I still have to power this reactor, and this reactor has ZPM input hatches, which means it expects ZPM tier energy. However, I can actually just plug it directly into this, which these are LUV tier energy outputs. It'll be of a lower tier, but you are allowed to supply lower tier energy to higher tier machines. Normally, that'll result in the machine being very unhappy as it's low on energy. However, you can't actually overclock fusion reactors, so there's nothing wrong with providing it with the lower tier energy. Hey, could you? Whoa, there's a lot of them. These guys keep bugging me. All right, whatever. Now that this is powered, we can fuel it. So put one fuel into each, and we're off. Coming out the output hatch should be lutetium, and one ingot of that. All right, I have to turn that into an ingot. Let's mass fab. Let's get a mass fabricator for every step of this cycle, or rather, replicator. So I'll replicator the lutetium, even if I don't need to. I'm not even going to bother hooking a storage bus up to this replicator. If I need lutetium, I'll come get it by hand. Anyways, I melted down another ingot of that and one of chrome, so we can run the next step in this cycle. And it's off. This produces Americium. I think this is actually used in some other recipes, if I recall. Let's see, plates. Yeah, well, wait, I must have already made... Oh no, this is for a tier 3 fusion reactor, never mind. I don't know. Maybe it's useful. Maybe it's useful, maybe not. Once I get an ingot of it, I'm gonna do the same thing. Turn it into a dust, make a replicator of it, and process that through to go to Neutronium. Because Americium is used in a couple places, I want to just have a full chest of it available. This dust can be smelted into ingots trivially, so I'll smelt it as needed, if needed. Alright, so I melted down 8 ingots of that stuff, and I have 2 buckets of Neutronium, and this should be the last step in making Neutronium. Unlike the previous steps, which were 1-to-1, like Americium here, right? It's 1-to-1. Basically, one ingot of each input produces 1 ingot of output. For Neutronium, it's 8-to-1 or 16-to-2. Anyways, this one might take it a little while. I think I can overclock it. I'm providing it with, actually, there's a fusion? No, it is overclocking, right? But it's going to need to run a little bit because we have to get to 144 millibuckets of Neutronium. So let's leave this here while I plan out how I'm going to make Draconium. Draconium is also a fusion reactor recipe. Let's see, we need Draconium fluid. In fact, let's unpin some of this stuff. Get rid of that. Alright, we need Draconium fluid to make Draconium ingots, and that is red matter and osmiridium. Osmiridium is pretty easy because I've already made osmiridium. Here is 1.7 thousand ingots of it. Pretty good. I think it's, what's the ratio? So it's 1 ingot of osmiridium makes 2 ingots of draconium. Beautiful. Red matter, on the other hand, is a bit trickier. We get the easy way of making red matter once we have infinity eggs. However, that's a ways off. So we have to make red matter balls, which can be melted in a blast furnace to make red matter fluid. Then we need black or dark matter balls and void metal ingots, and a bunch of life essence. Diving a little deeper, dark matter needs empowered void crystals, vanadium, which I already have, and primal mana. Let's start with the primal mana because that should be easy. We're going to go one more step into the rabbit hole for the production of primal mana here, and that is mana dust. That takes unstable mana plus the 4 dusts that come out of one of our chickens. So these 4 items are free. And I do have an unstable mana system right here, except it is stupid slow. So we're going to have to be significantly more efficient than this. This process is also bottlenecked by the fact that I'm manually supplying it with ethanol, and I'm giving it mana from these chickens, which is much slower than our much faster mana production system that directly converts Botania mana into wizardry mana. So let's start by rebuilding the unstable mana to not be bad. This series of machines is essentially the same unstable mana producer, except it runs at IV and it has its own ethanol input. So plant balls plus water make ethanol. I know this is not very efficient. I can use honey or juice, or I guess it's only honey or juice, to get more output, but I don't know. It's like the effort of making honey or juice, like instead of putting effort into making honey or juice, I could just put a second brewing machine. Anyways, that makes biomass, that makes biomass, which gets distilled into ethanol, which gets mixed with the simple power catalysts and redstone to make unstable mana. I know there's a upcoming patch that will make this recipe yield far more unstable mana per craft. Right now it's 2 buckets. I think the next update will make it do 10, which is pretty nice. But hey, until it arrives, we make do with what we have. I also set up a system that automatically crafts these unstable power catalysts. So that's life essence, gel toluene, netherwort, and redstone in a mixer. It seems our life essence, though, is not really up to the task. Our problem isn't that we're not generating enough life essence. In fact, let's head over to our altar and take a quick look. I suspect the altar is full, which it is, but we're not actually transferring blood out of the altar fast enough. The limitation on transferring blood out of blood altars isn't the conduits that you use to connect, but it's actually how fast the altar will allow you to take resources out of it. So to make that go faster, we need more runes. Specifically, we need the 2 types are displacement and I already forgot the name of the other one. Acceleration. So displacement runes let you take out more blood per blood extraction operation. How are these made? That takes a runic altar. And acceleration runes let the blood extraction operation happen more often. Right now it happens once a second. With 19 acceleration runes, it happens once a tick, or 20 times faster. So I guess a runic altar is probably in our near future. Or rather, yeah, a runic altar to make blood altar upgrades, but I don't know, I'm lazy. We'll do that later. Looking at the uses for unstable mana, at this point in the game, because we're probably not going to make a meaningful amount of Terra Steel anymore, there's really not much I need it for. Given that, then, like, I'm not going to use it for any of these recipes either. What I'll probably do is, what I've already set up is a system that will automatically take our unstable mana and turn it into mana dusts. So that's mana dust passively crafted and checked off the list. Now, mana dust is used to make primal mana. So that's a chemical reactor with vanadium dust and deuterium. I guess let's set up ore processing for vanadium really quick. I know it has how do I even spell it? Vintium. Anyways, it has these dense or exquisite forms, but as far as I can tell, we don't need them. I don't need a Vintium chicken, and I've already used it for everything else. So I'm just going to process this the simple way, and that is, apparently I do have a bunch of dense ore, but I'm not going to wash it, I'm not going to ore sift it, despite the fact that we can. I came here to my space station to check on the process of, the processing of the ore, make sure I didn't have to add it to any filters. But turns out I had already scheduled Vintium ore when it comes through to go through washers and sifters. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The reason that I think I sifted it earlier was because I did need some flawless or exquisite. But at this point, I'll just let it keep doing what it's doing. So that's Vintium dust taken care of. Now we can combine that into primal mana, so another chemical reactor. This is a very slow recipe. With this last chemical reactor here, we are now 100% passively creating primal mana. It uses a tiny bit of Vintium dust, which means I do have to periodically throw like a stack of ore through processing. But remember, one stack of ore produces about 50 million stacks of dust, right? So in all likelihood, I'll never, I'll finish a pack before the ore I'm processing now is before we consume all the Vintium that comes off that. All right, so primal mana is consumed at 2 buckets per to make dark, or 2 buckets per 4 dark matter. But before we can do that, we have to empower void crystals automatically. So this is void crystal, which we have plenty of. Our void ore miner makes that 5,000. That's plenty. Mana pearls, which is that uses more unstable mana. Ugh. Well, there's going to be very high unstable mana demand apparently, and flawless coal. So I guess I also have to process some coal through our ore system here. Processing both coal and Vintium through the sifters is going to take a little while. So I added 8 more sifters. Turns out when you have lots of energy, you can just add more machines, and no one can tell you otherwise. Technically, though, I don't have the energy over here. I don't have a way of wirelessly transferring GregTech energy. So if I need more energy here, I have to either add more diesel engines, or maybe I can wirelessly pipe some of that plasma and put like a single plasma turbine here. That's probably easier than adding like a bunch of diesel engines, right? Each plasma turbine is like 8 diesel engines in one. For the actual task of crafting empowered void crystals, the terrestrial amalgamation plate requires that you drop exactly these 3 items onto it and not drop more items until it's done crafting. So I set up a system that it doesn't actually know whether or not the crafting's done. It uses a timer to do some dead reckoning. But when I request the items, they should come out of our ME interface into this impulse hopper, which every time it's pulsed, I want it to send through 1 set of items, which will be dropped, and then the final product will be collected into this vacuum chest to free up the plate. All right, let's try it out, I guess. There's one thing here that I'm not sure if it'll work yet, and that is the length of the pulse needed to operate the impulse hopper. In fact, what we just saw there is that my pulse length is too short. The impulse hopper, for some reason I will never understand, does not have a run once per pulse mode. So you need to give it a pulse that is long enough for it to send one set of items, but short enough that it does not try to send multiple sets of items. Now, what the heck is this? Why is it not dropping the coal? Excuse me? Impulse hopper? 1 second. Ah, that was, whoa. Well, no, hold on 1 second. But the problem I had before was that the translocator, for some reason, did not want to extract flawless coal. So, whatever, I switched it out to a item conduit, and it works now. The timing, I guess, was off. So I gave it 5 seconds. It clearly takes more than 5 seconds to craft. So, I don't know, let's double it, I guess. 10 seconds. So this number is a number of ticks. Anyways, put this in here, turn it back on, and let it run just to make sure it works. So every 10 seconds, it should tick once, allowing one set of items through. There we go. Those get dropped, crafted together, sucked back into the vacuum chest, and a couple seconds later, the next set of 3 items should come. Perfect. Maybe I can squeeze a little bit of time here, or a little bit more time, a little bit less time into the timer, but honestly, this is fast enough. And there it goes with the next one. All right, so with this, we can demand craft Empowered Void Crystal. Well, we could almost do that. I just have to feed the items back into the interface. But that's easy. With both Primal Mana and Empowered Void Crystals taken care of, the next step is to use dark matter to make red matter. That requires void metal, a lot more life essence, and I guess just void metal. So void metal first has to be made from void seeds. I think the mobs that drop it have been disabled in this pack, so we can't just farm it off mobs. So we have to make it in a Hellfire Forge. I did some testing, and all the slots in a Hellfire Forge are import and exportable. So I just, if we get a recipe that says these items make 4 void seeds, stuff them into our Hellfire Forge, it should craft it, and then I just have the extract set to only extract regular void seeds from it. As for filling the Tartaric gem, I specifically built it, let's show chunk borders, within this chunk here, because this chunk has automated regular will generation, demonic will, and the Tartaric gem can just yoink will out of the chunk for its own crafting. So let's go and code the recipe and give this a shot. The recipe is here, let's give it a shot. Void seed, I have 2, so if I order 1 more, the craft makes 4 at a time. So it goes into here. Ah, we're working. It crafts, and then our Tartaric gem automatically refills, and the product automatically gets extracted. Wonderful. For turning the void seeds into actual void metal ingots, I'm going to violate one of my cardinal rules, and that is don't do blast furnace recipes on demand. The reason I'm doing this as a on-demand blast furnace recipe is because you have to, well, the way I have my void seeds set up is that they are crafted on demand. So, you have to specifically ask the ME system to make them. And then anything that consumes a void seed or anything that consumes void metal will also be on demand. So it's like kind of in the middle of an on-demand sandwich. So there's very little to gain by automatically turning void seeds into void ingots passively. Basically, you will never end up with void seeds just hanging around waiting. So these 6 I have here, I may as well turn them into void ingots. Now they also use destructive will crystal, which apparently my ME system doesn't have. I think I just never actually hooked up these. Yeah, I never actually just hooked up these crates to a storage bus. So let's get 5 storage buses for these 5 barrels. Requesting any more void metal now, though, I think reveals that I have a couple deficiencies left in my system. First of all, I don't know how to make black quartz blocks. That's very simple. I just have to turn black quartz into blocks. But if I request a couple hundred, I also don't have Vidium Bisque crystals. So let's get recipes for both of those in. Black quartz blocks are No, it's not a block. Block of black quartz. Yeah, it takes a compressor and 4 pieces of black quartz. Now, as for the piece of the black quartz, I could process my black quartz ore into it, or we can make another chicken. And it's been a long time since we've tortured a chicken, so I think it's time to torture the space chicken. The space chicken lays space eggs. Ooh, fancy. Which can be autoclaved into black quartz. I'm sorry, poor chicken. You deserve better than to be mixed together with... I mean, this isn't too bad. Maybe you're not that unlucky. This chicken is definitely luckier than the average chicken we've turned into a strange and obnoxious type of chicken, so consider yourself fortunate. A quick trip through the chicken breeder to get them up to 10-10-10 stats, and we put them to work. So they lay their eggs, which get turned into black quartz, which we store a cache of. This holds something like 80,000 items, right? I cannot imagine a world in which 80,000 black quartz is insufficient. So, put a storage bus on it, and we have an infinite supply of black quartz for all practical intents and purposes. Making the Vintium fizz crystals is as simple as throwing quartz sliver into something that contains at least 2 pieces of Vintium. You could do this in a crucible, or if you like to not make a huge mess, you can do it in a thaumatorium here. So I have 130 some Vintium in my ME system. If we need more, Netherwort contains a fair bit of it. So I'll melt another couple stacks of Netherwort. And for now, probably through the end of the pack, whenever I need... What happened here? Whenever I need aspects, I will just melt something for it manually. So there we go. I guess I don't have automatic fuel supply to my Essentia Smeltery yet. Whatever. I'm all Essentia Smelteried out after playing Celestial Journey. Anyways, this turns each quartz sliver into a Vis crystal, and each Vis crystal makes 4 void metal. So if it says I'm missing any, I'll just make them by hand. It's a little difficult to automate the creation of a bunch of different types of crystals because the same input turns into, 30,000 different pages of possible output, and you have to choose which one you get. With all that set up, then I think we should be able to request a whole bunch of void metal ingots if needed. Yep. In fact, I will actually craft these, have it get started. It'll take it a relatively long time. Again, the blast furnace step is not particularly fast, but it's there. Anyways, with void metal ingots made, then I think we're ready to set up a blast furnace to make red matter. Let's set up our blast furnace to make dark matter first, though. So that's going to take 2 blast furnaces, and I think... Is there a high temperature requirement? No, but it has to at least be IV. So let's set them both up at IV. Let's do them both at whatever this tier is, LUV. Just because I think I have no blast furnaces on an IV line right now, so we get to save coils by sharing sides. 2 more EBFs for 2 more recipes. Like before, these are on-demand blast furnaces, so hurts a little bit, but at least this time they're LUV tier, so they should run extremely fast. Let's give it a try. If I request red matter, it should process through both of them. So, yep, it has to craft dark matter, and then it crafts red matter. Go. The dark matter one turns on, and yeah, while it is on demand, this is about as fast as blast furnaces ever get. Right now they're LUV. I guess I could slip a second LUV input bus on and make it a ZPM tier blast furnace. But why has the crafting stopped? It thinks it's crafting red matter, but it's not. Inputs are in the input bus, but there's no life essence in the fluid hatch. Probably on account of the fact that we are trying to consume about 1,000 times more life essence than we're producing. Alright, so I guess I've put it off long enough. It's time to improve our blood altar. Upgrading our altar with either acceleration or displacement runes is going to require crafting of the Botania runic altar first. So the runic altar is a rather simple infusion. None of the ingredients here are hard to get. Past Jimmy saved one Fengarum gem. Well, he saved two Fengarum gems, but we took one of them. So let's set up our altar and do the craft. Unfortunately, this is 7 items, so you cannot align, it's impossible to place 7 items symmetrically on your altar, but we'll do the best we can. It is a dangerous infusion as well, so there's a chance that we get infusion artifacts. Oopsies, why is it? Oh, the mana pool goes in the middle, not the gem. There we go. Go. All right. Well, it says very stable, so hopefully it doesn't break. But even if we get instability events, these stabilizers will just eat it faster. Aha, we're in business. Alright, so there is a Botania runic altar. What do you reward? Anything useful? Nope. Screw it, whatever. Quest rewards at this point aren't terribly useful. Just for this playthrough, because the runic altar isn't actually used in a lot of recipes, like all these Botania runes are basically unused. I'm not going to fully automate the altar. If you're interested in the way the altar automates, go ahead and look up what I built in the Celestial Journey video. And I think that is a very clean way to automate the altar. So, whoopsies, I don't want to put that in there. So for now, I'll just craft on the altar by hand. I'll still have the ME system provide items to my altar, so I'll put the recipe here. The items will go in here, and then I'll just manually put them onto the altar and do the crafting. All right, now starting with the displacement rune, I'm going to need some ingredients here. The blank rune and slates we can already make. However, the water reagent is apparently non-trivial. I need to make that in the Hellfire Forge. We set up Hellfire Forge automation today, which is good. So now all I need is just a way to automatically fill water buckets. I suspect the buckets are also left behind, so we have to add those to the filters as well. So put that in there, and then the filter we can just add water reagent and a empty bucket. Finding an empty bucket in this list is apparently a non-trivial operation. I'll just grab one from my storage to put on the filter. All right, next up we need a way of automatically filling water buckets. There's 1.5 million different ways to fill water bottles, but what I'm going to do, or water buckets, is just use an Ender IO tank. There's a aqueous accumulator down there keeping it topped up, and you supply it with empty buckets, and it makes water buckets. Wow, such automation. Just to test it out real quick. Oh, you put buckets in the top slot, and it makes water buckets in the bottom slot. All right, with that, then I think we can request which one? Displacement? I meant to start with acceleration, but I guess I encoded the recipe for displacement, so we're doing that first now. Let's make 8. No reinforced slates. Whoops, those I still have to craft by hand. Ugh. One quick trip through the blood altar with some time in a bottle help. We have reinforced slates to make displacement runes. So go hit craft. They should, at least the materials, let's see. That's still crafting, that's fine. Should show up here. Any minute now. Oh, why is my water reagent not crafting? Let's see. Oh, right, I have to set... this is actually problematic. It'll insert items into the center slot too. And if I just turn on blocking mode, I don't think it'll ever insert items. Because it'll see that there's a Tartaric gem in here and be like, well, blocking mode's enabled, I'm not allowed to insert items. Let's try. So once it extracts these, indeed, it won't insert new items because of the gem. That's unexpected. All right, so how do I work around this? All right, 1 second to think about it. This turned out to be the 30th hardest problem I've ever solved in Minecraft. And let's get some background onto some of the things I tried but failed. So for making the water reagent, right, our problem was that if I just let applied energistics do its thing, it would shove all of these items into the Hellfire Forge, not respecting the fact that it shouldn't put the 4th and 5th item in. I don't even know why it puts items in the output slot. Like I can't put items in the output slot, but apparently it can. Anyways, what that resulted in though was that the wrong items were being inserted. Naturally, normally the way you fix that is you just turn on blocking mode. However, turning on blocking mode results in no items ever going in because the Tartaric gem takes a slot and it sees that the gem's in here. It's like, well, you're telling me not to insert items until there's no more items, and there are items, so I guess I'm just going to not insert items. All right, so then what we had to, effectively, what we have to do is implement something that behaves like blocking mode, but ignores the petty Tartaric gem. Enter Steve's factory, or super factory manager once again. What I have is, coming out of the ME interface, it's feeding into a buffer chest. This modular storage here is just a very large buffer chest with blocking mode. So it puts one set of items in here. Then what this checks is every second, or whatever this interval is, every second it checks to see, are there items in the Hellfire Forge? So are there any items in the Hellfire Forge? If false, if there are no items in the Hellfire Forge, then take all items from the modular storage and put them into the Hellfire Forge. So effectively, this is blocking mode, ignoring the Tartaric gem. And that lets us craft water reagents without it getting stuck. So it'll put one set of items in here and move them all at once, only when the output here is clear. Aha. All right, problem solved. Let's go back to our altar, where I think we have some ingredients waiting for us even. Yeah, so let's sort my inventory, grab all this stuff, bit of lag, and apparently I've completed the Living Rock quest. Put it onto the altar. It'll start crafting. I have to blast it with mana. I forgot to get mana spreaders. Linking up the mana spreaders to our altar here, it blasts it with mana. When it's done, we throw a living rock on it, and I have... what mode do you need to be on? Apparently this doesn't work. No, there it is. Use item. That's the mode you were on. That should automatically click with the Wand of the Forest to finish the craft. We just right-click again to start it. You can even throw the living rock on now, I think. But there we go. We are now semi-auto crafting. There's a bit of manual labor involved, but we are at least making runes. Alright, so I'm going to craft these 10 displacement runes, and then following a similar process, I'll craft 19 acceleration runes. To speed up the crafting process here a little bit, I moved the mana spreader right up against the altar. Each mana spreader can only have one mana burst active at a time, so by having it touching the altar effectively, it makes the mana spreader run faster. I would have 3 spreaders doing it, except I kinda sort of ran out of runes of fire to make these dominant spark augments. Which, I guess I can craft them now that I have a runic altar, though. Whatever. I'm just going to craft these displacement runes, and with any luck, we never have to touch Botania or Blood Magic again this pack. I love the mods. I dug myself a hole here, and I'm just digging it deeper every time I become lazy and don't automate things. So my hole is now sufficiently deep that I don't want to climb out of it. I did it. They're all crafted. We have 20 acceleration runes. I only need 19, but they craft 2 at a time, so I had to make 20. Let's put these on first. So, exchanging gadget, exchange those for those, and, I mean, however many I have, I want them all on the altar. And then we'll fill in any remaining gaps with displacement runes. Displacement runes. Alright, I think every rune on this altar is a functional rune now. Swap out some of the runes of the orb, because those are probably the least functional of our runes. Now what this means is that with 19 acceleration runes, every tick, the blood altar will be emptied. That is, every tick, blood can be transferred from the altar into its buffer tank. Then with having, how many do I have, like 10-ish displacement runes, those just increase the amount of blood that gets pulled out. So right now I can actually empty all the blood out of the altar basically I can keep the altar empty of blood, which is good. That means that all the blood that I generate I can use in crafting. Because I'm doing that, then I no longer need this system to run. So let's turn all, well, I can no longer afford, rather, to keep this system running, because this drains from my LP network, right? And I'm no longer recharging my LP network because I'm crafting. So, yeah. Anyways, this should give us a lot more blood for crafting, though, which should result in this red matter here being crafted. In fact, it might even be done. In fact, it is done. So let's try ordering, I don't know, 20 more pieces of red matter. And we should see all these machines kick in. First, the dark matter one, and then the red matter. Now, because I turned the demon crystals, demonic will off, I will no longer be producing any more destructive will crystals. However, these are used in the process of making void metal, so I need another way of producing them. I'll just centrifuge vitrified sand for it. This recipe was added in the recent patch, and it is much easier to centrifuge vitrified sand than it is to run that entire set of like six different altar recipes. All right, well, crafting is hard at work now. I can cancel that. And of the 20, I guess one is done. More will craft as blood becomes available. But because we are still, filling in a bunch of, we're still backfilling basically a bunch of things. Like this, no, this one doesn't use blood. But what process here does use blood? This one? Nope, that one's full. Hold on. I know one of these processes here is backfilling with blood, which is causing our blood supply to be still lacking. Ah, here it is. The system for making simple power catalysts is backfilling with life essence. This will basically never stop because I gave it a cache that holds 80,000 items. Let's replace that with a chest that holds, a chest full of items, so that this will eventually stop. Once this thing stops consuming blood, then all the blood will be available to our blast furnace. With red matter automated, I'm going to need to empty out this fusion reactor because this is a fusion reactor that will be making our Draconium. So let's take the Neutronium we've made, turn it into an ingot and into a dust, and then get a replicator working on that as well. Here's our first ingot of GregTech Neutronium, which rewards us with, I think, 4 more. Aha! Anyways, into a pulverizer it goes. And we'll replicate the dust. It does take a very long time to replicate Neutronium dust. But this will just run, I'll probably just leave the 1 stack in the output slot as our buffer. We can directly smelt it into ingots and turn that into plates or whatever as needed. But oh boy, is it slow. In fact, it's slow enough that I'll change my mind and buffer a whole chest worth. It only uses neutral matter, whatever. So I guess I didn't have to put 64 buckets of positive matter in here, but it's in there now and it's going to stay in there forever. So auto output to there. And the reason I'm not concerned about matter is because I have 30 million millibuckets of each of these matters. These mass fabricators have been turning air into positive and neutral matter for quite a while. It appears like our fusion reactor has grown a bit of a zit. So this zit is a blast furnace whose purpose is to turn red matter balls into red matter fluid, and then its output hatch lines up with the input hatch of the blast furnace so that I can have a recipe that says that if I want to make Draconium, all I have to do is feed it red matter. So red matter gets fed into this blast furnace, which I overclocked its EPM just to have it melt things a little bit faster. Let's tag it a couple times, let it melt. But once it melts, the fluids go in there, and our fusion reactor starts making Draconium. The other product that makes Draconium is the osmiridium, and that I just have passively supplied because I have boatloads of osmiridium. So this is creating Draconium. Once it outputs to this output hatch, which I guess the reason it's not outputting to the fluid solidifier is that the back of the fluid solidifier is normally the input, or normally the output. There we go. Which goes to here, which makes Draconium ingots, and then I just need to route these Draconium ingots into an interface somewhere. So let's just run a random piece of item conduit here. We'll go from the side, I guess, so it's a little clean. And get it back into the interface. And with this, we can auto-craft Draconium ingots. All we have to do is say, hey, give me Draconium, and it'll make it. Now, it'll take its sweet time making it because a lot of the processes involved in this are very slow. But at least it's automated. Is that always active? There we go. And that should complete the crafting task. So there we go, 20 Draconium ingots. So let's cancel those. Those are made, cancel those. And now we can just order, I don't know, can I order 500 Draconium? No, 500 is too much. 100 Draconium at least? Missing mana pearls. 1 second. To fix the problem with not having eyes of or mana pearls, is added another assembler that makes them. Now that we have a lot of unstable mana automation, we can craft these on demand, and I can just stick 64 buckets of this in an assembler without feeling bad. So once again, let's try 100 Draconium. Aha! Very good. Start. And as I said before, this will take a fair amount of time, but time is what we have. I'll just run it between episodes, more or less, going forward. We need a lot of this stuff because the ultimate goal is, well, maybe not the ultimate goal, I guess we'll call it the penultimate goal. Is the Infinity Chicken. And the Infinity Chicken takes 20 blocks of Awakened Draconium, as well as some Infinity blocks, which contain more Awakened Draconium. So, yeah, we're going to need a lot of Draconium. I mean, 20 blocks is only, 180 something ingots. So, in total, this is maybe 300 ingots of Draconium, because most of the other stuff isn't actually made of Draconium. But there's still a bunch of things in here we can't craft. So, let's wrap things up here for today with the slow but automated production of Draconium, and we'll come back next time and continue to work our way towards the Infinity Chicken and beyond. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.